are this afternoon's top stories. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro arrives in the Federation today. Cuba appoints an ambassador to the United States, and Burkina Faso's interim president restored after coup. Good afternoon and welcome to the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Today is Wednesday, 23rd September 2015. I'm Kyle Barrage. In national news, the strength of the relationship between the government of St. Kitts and Nevis and the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela is being made evident today when President Nicolas Maduro arrives in St. Kitts for the first time. Today's welcome ceremony and guard of honor will be held at the Robert L. Bratcher International Airport and will be broadcast live on ZIZ Radio and television and streamed on the World Wide Web. President Maduro's visit, although short, is expected to field discussions with Prime Minister Harris about the relationship between both countries. Originally, Maduro was scheduled to visit St. Kitts and Nevis late Friday night and be among the special guests at the Independence Ceremonial Parade on Saturday 19th. It is no secret that President Maduro's government secured $16 million on behalf of the government here to ensure that former employees of the St. Kitts Sugar Manufacturing Corporation received a gratuitous payment that was promised by Team Unity during the most recent election campaign. We'll have more on President Maduro's visit in tonight's major newscast. Today marks the start of a two-day UNESCO OECS conference on the ethical dimensions of the information society and internet privacy. Being held at the Marriott Resort, the conference began at 9:30 a.m. with an opening ceremony that was broadcast live on ZIZ Radio 96.1 FM. That ceremony featured welcome remarks by General Secretary for St. Kitts and Nevis Commission for UNESCO, Antonio Maynard. Also addressing the gathering were Deputy Prime Minister and Minister responsible for Education, Youth, Sports and Culture, the Honorable Sean Richards, Attorney General, the Honorable Vincent Byron Jr., and Dr. Boyan Radoikov from UNESCO. Charles Wilkins, CMG QC, delivered the keynote address. The hard work of the St. Kitts Nevis Agriculture Youth Forum, SKNAYF, in the agriculture sector is not going unnoticed. Minister of Education, Honorable Sean Richards, has pledged the ministry's commitment to ensuring that each year students of the forum receive agriculture scholarships.
It is the goal of the Ministry of Education to have students graduating with the means to become skilled and entrepreneurs. This ministry, the Ministry of Education, has committed to provide where possible agricultural scholarships every year to the SKNAYF in an effort to support not just their goals, but the federations. I pledge my government's commitment to the task at hand. The Ministry of Education has indeed a great role to play in nation building, but NGOs and other partners too have a special role to play.
Minister Richards thanks the SKNAYP for the work being done to develop the sector.
I would like to thank the St. Kitts Nevis Agricultural Youth Forum for their continued hard work and dedication towards youth development and the agricultural sector. These students and the young SKNAYF volunteers have decided to change the minds of society and embrace agriculture, bringing more modern agricultural practices to the schools and to our farmers.
On Tuesday, the SKNAYP, in collaboration with the Inter-American Institute for Cooperation on Agriculture, handed over garden tools to several primary schools and broke ground for the construction of shade houses at several high schools. On the regional scene, Cuba has appointed an ambassador to the U.S., the first since 1961, as part of the ongoing thaw in relations between the two countries.
Cuba has appointed an ambassador to the U.S., the first since 1961, as part of the ongoing thaw in relations between the two countries. Jose Cabanas is a veteran diplomat who has run Cuba's Interests section in Washington since 2012. He was received at the White House with 15 other new diplomats from other countries. Washington has yet to make an announcement about who will serve as its new ambassador in Havana. The announcement comes ahead of a visit to Cuba by Pope Francis and days before Cuban President Raúl Castro goes to New York to address the United Nations. His visit will mark the first time a president of Cuba has publicly set foot on American soil since 1995, when President Fidel Castro, his older brother, spoke before the UN. In July, Cuba and the United States formally re-established their relations. The process began publicly when President Obama and President Castro announced simultaneously that they planned to set a new course on US-Cuba relations. Soon after, the U.S. traded 3 Cubans they had convicted on spying charges for Alan Gross, an American aid worker accused of espionage by a Cuban court. Since then, U.S. and Cuban delegations have met several times to discuss a range of issues. Mr. Cabanas is a career diplomat trained in Havana. He served as Vice Minister of Foreign Relations and has occupied various high-level posts in several countries.
On Tuesday, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro met in New York with United Nations Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. It is reported that he asked for support in finding a solution to the territorial dispute with neighboring Guyana.
Guyana is relying on the United Nations General Secretary Ban Ki-moon to make peace with its neighbor Venezuela. The two countries have been at odds since Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro issued a decree claiming ownership of the Essequibo region, which also borders Guyana. Guyana's Foreign Minister Carl Greenidge says the country is hopeful that the UN will find the best way to settle the border controversy. In the meantime, Venezuela has refused to approve Guyana's nominee for the post of ambassador to Venezuela. In a televised broadcast on Wednesday, President Maduro announced that he instructed Venezuelan Foreign Minister Delcy Rodriguez to suspend processing Guyana's request to grant approval for Cheryl Miles to be appointed as the ambassador to Caracas. Maduro cited recent remarks made by Greenidge in the United States as the major reason for his action. Greenidge defended Guyana's rights to the Essequibo region during his trip to Miami recently. He says the people of Guyana have a right to state their views on a matter concerning their well-being. Greenidge argues that Guyana stands ready to renew relations with Venezuela, and the appointment of an ambassador is critical to the process.
Internationally, Burkina Faso's interim president Michel Kafando, who was taken hostage during a coup a week ago, said he was back in power and had restored a civilian transitional government. More in this report.
Burkina Faso's interim president Michel Kafando is back in power following a deal with military coup leaders mediated by the regional ECOWAS grouping of West African states. The deal involves soldiers returning to barracks and an amnesty for coup leader, General Gilbert Diendéré.
Dans le malheur, nous avons lutté ensemble.
We have fought in despair together, and in freedom we will triumph together.
Nous triomphons ensemble.
I am now free to travel and perform my functions, to continue my job, and reclaim the national legitimacy of my office.
Et par là même, je m'affirme en la légitimité nationale.
However, regional leaders arriving in the capital were greeted by Diendéré, and troops loyal to him and his forces maintain control of the national television headquarters. Diendéré is the ex-spy master of Burkina Faso's former ruler Blaise Compaoré, who was pushed out of office by street protests after 27 years in power.
Pope Francis landed on U.S. soil for the first time just before 4 p.m. on Tuesday. According to the media reports, he launched a 6-day visit that will highlight his love for the poor and willingness to tackle the nation's most recent political, social, and economic controversies.
Pope Francis has begun his first visit to the United States. The pontiff arrived from Cuba on board an Alitalia airliner at Joint Base Andrews in the U.S. state of Maryland on Tuesday. To show the importance that the White House gives to the visit, U.S. President Barack Obama took the unusual step of greeting Francis on the tarmac. The Pope and President were scheduled to meet more formally on Wednesday in the White House. Francis will deliver the first address by any pope to the U.S. Congress on Thursday. A papal mass on Sunday in Philadelphia is expected to attract around 1.5 million people.
Taking a look at the weather. Winds today will be east-southeast at less than 12 miles per hour, while the seas will be slight with heights less than 3 feet. In the weather summary, today is expected to be partly sunny with a 20% chance of showers. Today's temperature will peak around 82 degrees Fahrenheit. And tonight, however, will be mostly clear with a 10% chance of showers. Sunset for today should be around 6:07 p.m. and sunrise tomorrow will be around 6 a.m. That brings us to the end of the ZIZ Midday Newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thank you for joining us. I'm Kyla Berridge.